Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to Commute Talk. It is pretty early today. I got up even before the sun did, so that's nice. So today, Chris writes in asking about building a browser because a while ago I talked about how I had done so much browser work in my professional life that I thought it was going to be a long time before I would want to do that again. And then here, just a few weeks later, I am actively building a browser. So, he's asking what changed my mind about it. What's up with that? So, thank you, Chris, for asking the question. It is a good question. So, what happened was two things. The first thing was that Sergey Bugayev, I hope I'm saying that name right, Sergey, who's a long-term contributor to Serenity, if there is such a thing, he's written a lot of cool stuff for the system, and he wanted to build a man page system, so he picked up this libhtml little thing that I had been working on in the tree, sort of on and off, but never really got serious about, and he just picked it up and added basic text layout and basic rendering support. And then it just took this abstract thing, because what I had was like a DOM parser, a CSS parser, like a simple selector engine, stuff like that, but there was no rendering going on, basically. And he just added that, and the libhtml just came to life. And I don't know, it's just sparked something for me, and I got really super excited about working on it suddenly. So I'm very grateful to Sergey for picking that up and for, I don't know, putting life into it. And then the other part that happened was that after I talked about it in a video last time, I heard from people in various places talking about how it's kind of a stupid idea to build a browser anyway, because it's not really possible to do it alone, and it's too much work and too difficult, and this type of talk, I have a hard time with that type of talk, because I think it's so silly. So I don't know. It's maybe I'm a bit silly too, but when I hear people talking that way about something, then I just want to show them that it's possible and that it's not a big deal. Because I guess that's something that really drives me, is showing people that things are not such a big deal. And the things that I'm building are not a big deal. They're a lot of work, but they're not inherently difficult or inherently complicated. It's just a long series of individual programming tasks. That's what I've said that before, but it's really, really important to understand that you can build gigantic things if you're able to decompose them into a small programming tasks, because that's what everything is. I don't know where people get these ideas from that things are difficult or impossible, because they're not. But anyway, I don't want to be this type of person who just says that something is possible. I want to show you. So that's something that really drives me, to show people that it's perfectly possible. Here's how you do it, and you can do it too, And I'm certainly not the greatest expert or teacher in the world, but I imagine that I can probably show you something that you haven't seen before, and give you some idea you might not have thought of. And maybe if I can inspire you to give up on this kind of limiting belief that you might have about this stuff, then the world would be a better place. At least I think so. So those were kind of the two reasons, I guess, that I started doing it. because Sergey brought it to life, and then some people started casting doubt over the whole idea, or not casting doubt, but like they reminded me that this is how people often feel about this stuff, and I would like to live in a different world where people don't worry about these things. So how's it going with the browser thing anyway? It's pretty fun. It's really, really fun, actually. It turns out that having worked on WebKit for so many years, I picked up a lot of bits and pieces of things. Like, I have a pretty decent general outline of how a web engine can be implemented, but I'm lacking in a lot of random details. And that's actually really, really fun for me, because I get to go and learn about these missing details. Like, I've been reading the CSS specs a lot lately, and just sort of cementing my understanding of these concepts, because I learned about the web first as like someone making web pages. I mean, probably as most of us, and then as like an engineer. But I kind of skipped over reading the specs very much. Like, I've certainly spent time in the specs, but I never like approached them from this angle of like, well, what if I wanted to implement this whole concept from scratch? Because I'm constantly being surprised by just the most basic stuff in the spec, and I find it really, really fun. And it makes me think that I wish I would have gone and tried to read the CSS spec from this perspective many years ago. But I guess I was never coming from this perspective, so it just didn't happen. But yeah, it's been really, really fascinating. And the more stuff I do in libHTML, the more I feel like I don't know, I'm impressed, I guess, by the maturity of some of the optimizations that I've seen in WebKit, but in other engines as well. And it's like really making me appreciate just how mature some concepts and optimizations are. And it's also making me realize that some things are not as stable as I maybe once thought that they were, or not as well defined, I should say. But you know, it's a fantastic learning experience so far, and I'm kind of in very rapid building mode, I guess, with libHTML. So I understand if it's hard to follow, it will slow down, and it will be more hackable once I get the basic different class hierarchies to a good place. I'm just kind of still figuring out like what should the design be of the core engine, and then once that's figured out, then it will probably become far more hackable than it might be right now. I mean, I still invite anyone to hack on it, obviously. Like, I don't mind, but I'd be happy if you talk to me about it if you want to hack on it, because then we can sort of figure out so that I don't break whatever you're working on. And then something else that a lot of people are asking me about is, well, are you going to do a JavaScript engine too now? And I think the answer is pretty obvious. Although I'm not calling dibs on it. Like, I'm definitely open to someone doing a JavaScript parser, and then we could do like an AST walk interpreter on top of that or something, just as a starting point. And we'll need a garbage collector, but I'm not working on this right now. I know that Conrad expressed some interest in working on that, And a lot of people have been talking about porting some other engine, and I'm not against ports, but I'm definitely not going to take an external JS engine and make that like the JS engine for this browser, because that's just not how this project rolls. um, if it's not invented here, well, we should invent it here, because it's fun. And I know that porting stuff is a lot of people. A lot of people come and they want to do ports and they think that it's really fun, and I get it. I've done that myself a lot, like especially when I used to go spelunking on retro Unixes and stuff. I thought it was amazing to try to get random software to run on random Unixes. It is fun, but it is not really the. It's not definitely not the goal of Serenity to port a bunch of stuff and then build like yet another Franken Unix. There's plenty of operating systems where you can do that. I still enjoy seeing people do ports, especially because it tends to bring in a lot of compatibility work and a lot of fixes, compliance fixes, POSIX compliance and stuff like that. And I encourage people to do ports, and I welcome ports, and I will merge ports, but I will never make the base system depend on a port, because I think that would be a mistake. The base system should stand on its own legs no matter what. Yeah. But yeah, it's really fun building the browser so far. Obviously, it's still super immature. I'm still figuring very basic things out. And I don't know, like I've been posting a lot of browser hacking videos lately. I don't know if they are interesting to the same people who find the OS hacking videos interesting, or if these are two like separate audiences. But I enjoy both things. Right now, I'm like rapidly developing the browser engine, so there's going to be a lot of that going on. But the operating system is not it's not going anywhere. I mean, it's still the foundation of the whole thing, and still needs a ton of work. So there's going to be a lot more of that in the future too. So yeah, I guess that's the state of that. And I guess I would like to also say that in the last couple of days, there have been a number of new contributors showing up with patches and bug reports and stuff, and that's really awesome. So thank you, everyone, and welcome. It's really cool to see that there's always like something new happening, something new going on, and new people discovering the system and like taking a look around and like finding their little itch to scratch, their little thing to work on. And it's fascinating to me, this whole thing. And I'm really, really grateful that I get to experience it with all of you. So thank you, I guess, for being here and for hanging out with me on the commute. I'm kind of out of things to say now, so I'm just going to end it here. But if you have questions or suggestions or something like that, leave them in a comment below, and I will get to them at some point, hopefully. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.